Zanka No Tachi. This is the Bankai of the Captain Commander of Gotei 13 and Captain of the 1st Division Shigekuni, Yamamoto Genryusai. Zanka no Tachi is arguably one of the most powerful Bankai in the series. The Bankai takes the form of an old scorched katana. Activating this Bankai, it absorbs all the flames created by Yamamoto's Shikai, Ryujin Jaka. Zanka no Tachi has 4 main abilities. East concentrates the power of Yamamoto's flames into the tip of the blade, instantly incinerated anything it touches into nothingness. West covers Yamamoto's body in heat exceeding 15 million degrees, making it impossible to touch him. South, activating the ability allows him to call upon anyone he has killed with his flames to have them fight for him, practically gives him an army he can call upon at will. North sends out a slash so powerful and hot, it literally incinerates anything it touches out of existence. Zanka no Tachi is so strong that its only real weakness is its power. Upon its release, it creates a heat wave so strong it can be felt across all of the Soul Society. If left unchecked, the heat released from this Bankai would eventually destroy the enemy, user, and all of the Soul Society. Koko Gonryo Rikyu. This is the Bankai of the Lieutenant of the 1st Division Shojiro Sasakibe. It allows him to call forth and summon a thunderstorm above his head with pillars of lightning connecting them to the ground. His Bankai allows him to control the weather as well as infusing his attacks with lightning. Jakuho Raikoben. This Bankai is used by Soifon, the captain of the 2nd Division and head of the Stealth Force. Despite being a member of the Stealth Force, there is nothing stealthy about her Bankai. The Bankai takes the form of a large missile launcher that fires a nuclear power missile that tracks and follows the enemy. Soifon herself has expressed contempt for her Bankai as it is ill-fitted for an assassin. Moreover, due to the recoil of her Bankai, she has to tie it down to something heavy before she can fire it. Kinshara Butodan. This Bankai belongs to the former captain of the 3rd Division Rose. His Bankai creates several strange humanoid figures with roses on their faces. This power allows Rose to create physical illusions that attack the enemy along with the humanoid dancers. 3 techniques were mentioned in the series, but we only saw the effects of 2. The first of these was Sea Drift, that create an illusion of a whirlpool, making the surrounded enemies feel drowning. The second was Prometheus, that command the dancers to use fire and attack the enemies with it. Rose has also mentioned an ability called Einheldenleben, though we were unable to see its effects. The major weakness to his Bankai is that it only works through sound, so if someone is able to stop themselves from hearing his Bankai, they are free from its effects. Minazuki. This is the Bankai used by Unohana, the captain of the 4th Division and former Kenpachi. The blade of Unohana liquefies into a thick, viscous, blood-like substance. It will cover all the surround grounds, and once the new battlefield is completed, the former Kenpachi can start her massacre. The blood-like substance unleashed by Minazuki can be manipulated for potent, offensive, and defensive maneuvers. The slashes from Unohana's main sword can form large and sharp blades from the blood-like substance to swiftly attack her enemies from long distances. Additionally, she can use Minazuki to rapidly heal any injuries she sustains without requiring Kido. Before continuing our journey, I would like to ask you if you like the video to like and subscribe. As you can see, our channel is still small, and any help on your side will help us to keep producing content. Sakashima Yokoshima Happofusagari. This Bankai belongs to Shiji Hirako, former captain of the 5th Division. Upon release, a large golden flower appears around Shinji, releasing a pink mist. While his Shikai alter people's perception of direction, the Bankai cause everyone that inhale the mist the alteration of perceptions of friend and foe, causing allies to turn on each other. This is also the reason why he was forbidden to use his Bankai when he was a captain in the Soul Society. Senbonzakura Kageyoshi. This is the Bankai of Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th Division. Byakuya's Bankai is a much powerful version of Senbonzakura's Shikai. The number of petal blades is much greater, and Byakuya can simultaneously use them for offense and defense. Unlike his Shikai, his Bankai is mentally controlled. By using his hands, he can do it more effectively, making the blades move twice as fast. Senbonzakura Kageyoshi has a series of techniques. The first is Senkei, the true form of Senbonzakura. This technique unites the scattered petals into complete glowing swords, numbering in the thousands, which form an arena around Byakuya and his opponent. It abandons defense in favor of a concentrated offense. Senkei increases the attack power of the swords. While Byakuya can mentally control these swords, he commonly calls them to his hands for actual melee combat. This technique requires Byakuya's blood to activate. When Senkei is active, Byakuya can also use Ika Senjika, a command that launch all the Senkei blades simultaneously to the opponent. Gokei is a technique that surrounds the enemy with the petals of Senbonzakura and then obliterates him. Shukkei Hakuteiken, instead, is a technique that concentrates all the blades into a singular, glowing white blade that gives an immense buff on the attack power that can annihilate someone in one single blow. Senbonzakura's nature makes it an extremely powerful Bankai, both on the offense and the defense. However, the user must maintain a small distance between himself and his blades to ensure his safety. Soo Zabimaru. This is the Bankai of Renji Abarai Lieutenant of the 6th Division. Due to not initially being seen as worthy by his blade, he was only shown a false Bankai. The false Bankai, Hihio Zabimaru, was in the form of a large snake skeleton that functioned both as a blunt force, mid, and long-range weapon that can also fire energy bomb. Soo Zabimaru, the true Bankai, however, is a much more compact and much more powerful than the false one. It takes the form of a cowl that transforms into a large arm protruding from his left shoulder. Covered in green fur with bone fingers, on his right arm starts a snake skull gauntlet that ends in a toothed blade. The left arm has immense strength, capable of throwing around enemies much larger than Renji with ease. With the new sword, however, Renji is able to use Zaga Teppo, a devastating technique that allows him to immobilize the enemy with the snake's jaws of spiritual energy, and at the same time, shoot him a very powerful bomb of spiritual energy. Kokujo Tengenmyoo. This Bankai is used by the captain of the 7th Division, Sajin Komamura, who has the appearance of an anthropomorphic wolf. His Bankai manifests as a giant armored samurai about 100 meters tall, wielding a huge sword. The giant mirrors Komamura's movements, but with much more strength. However, any damage taken by the giant is inflicted on Komamura. After humanizing, Komamura was able to use a new form of the Bankai, Kokujo Tengenmyoo, Dangai-jo. In this form, the giant sheds its armor, revealing a demonic body made of pure spiritual energy. The giant is invulnerable to physical attacks and far more powerful. The cost of using this, however, is extremely high, as it requires Komamura to humanize, and the side effects of this is that Komamura will turn back into a simple wolf. Keten Kyokotsu, Karamatsu Shinju. This is the Bankai of Shinsui, the captain of the 8th Division and the new captain commander. Upon activating his Bankai, Spirit of his Zanpakuto appears behind them. The power of Keten Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju is structured in 4 levels. Its power, however, is so great that beings capable of feeling its Reiatsu feel great desperation and anguish, as if the world had suddenly become a cold and desolate place as soon as it's released. The first act allows Shusui to share with the enemy the wounds he suffered during the fight. The second act causes black spots of illness to appear on his opponent. Why this happens is not very clear. The third act takes both of them into an abyss where the resolve and Reiatsu will be exhausted. The last act, however, is a direct attack. Shusui concentrates the Reiatsu of his Zanpakuto on his fingers with a single move, aiming at the throat. Generates a slash capable of cutting even the immaterial. Tekken Tachikaze. This is the Bankai of the current 9th Division captain, Kensei Muguruma. It takes the form of large knuckle blades that can be changed to brass knuckles or spiked knuckles as the user wishes. It also covers his arms with what looks like metal gauntlets made from purple bands which are connected by a larger arch of band across his back. When someone is punched with his Bankai, it releases a power explosive force which will continue to explode infinitely as long as the user's fists are connected to the opponent. Daiguren Hyorinmaru. 10th Division Captain Toshiro Hitsugaya's Bankai lets him control ice and water. He is able to use the moisture and air to create multiple ice attacks and structures. He is able to create ice clones of himself, wrapping himself with ice wings as a defense, freeze his enemies, and much more. The Bankai of Hitsugaya has another form. During the 1,000 Years' War, he managed to use the completed form of the Bankai. In this mature form, the ability of the Bankai is much more powerful. The freeze is much faster and allows Hitsugaya to freeze even concept and power. For example, by freezing Hofnung, Hyorinmaru also freezes the hope that enchants the sword. Despite being the most powerful ice element Zanpakuto, however, his Bankai is weak to the extreme heat, specifically that of Yamamoto's Bankai. Nozarashi. This is the name of the Shikai form of Zaraki Kenpachi Zanpakuto. The name of his Bankai hasn't been revealed. It could be Nozarashi or Yachiru in my opinion, since Yachiro is his Zanpakuto spirit. Zaraki Bankai is one of the most powerful Bankai. The release of this Bankai transforms Kenpachi into a monstrous version of himself, with red skin, horns, and black marks across his face. His blade becomes shorter with a longer handle, almost resembling a broken axe or cleaver. In this form, he loses all sense of friend and becomes a berserk killing machine. He gets an incredible buff in strength and spiritual energy, with the only limitation to be his body that cannot contain or control such power properly. The power of his Bankai is so great that in the end, it is a double-edged sword because Zaraki's physical body risks self-destruction. Ryumon Hozukimaru. This Bankai belongs to Ikaku Madarame, the lieutenant of the 11th Division under Zaraki Kenpachi. His Bankai functions rather differently from others. It takes the form of 3 large blades connected by chains. The activation of his Bankai releases spiritual energy that gets stronger and stronger as the fight progresses. Ikako claims his Zanpakuto is lazy and needs to be woken up by combat. We can consider this as the special ability of his Bankai. Continue power up during the battle. Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo. This Bankai belongs to Mayuri Kurotsuchi, the captain of the 12th Division and president of the Shinigami Research Institute. Being someone known for his sickening experiments, it is only fitting that Mayuri has what it possibly is the most off-putting Bankai in the whole series. His Bankai takes the form of a giant yellow baby with the body of a caterpillar. This monstrous creature spews out a deadly poison that is nearly impossible to avoid. It also has the ability to produce blades from its chest it can use to impale opponents. During the war against the Quincy, Mayuri created a modified Bankai, the Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo, Matai Fukuin Shotai. This version appears as a huge deformed purple baby with a large vertical incision on his belly. It is shown in the series that Mayuri used the modified Bankai to counter Pernita by giving information to his sword allows Ashisogi Jizo to create a counter technique. For example, the purple baby mentioned before that can give birth to another little baby with nerve exposure on the surface of his skin. In this way, Mayuri neutralizes the power of nerve control of the Quincy. Hakka No Togame. This is the Bankai of Rukia Kuchiki, the latest captain of the 13th Division. Releasing the Bankai allows Rukia to drop the temperature around her to absolute 0. Even simply contact with Rukia in this form can freeze someone. However, despite the strength of the Bankai, it is not without its risks. As for her Shikai, the power of her Bankai is to make her the center of the coldness and to freeze everything near her. So, it is extremely difficult to master and has a time limit to how long it can be used. Tensa Zangetsu. This is the Bankai of Ichigo Kurosaki. It has many forms over the course of the story, the most iconic being a slim black katana and a black cloak of some sort. The power of the Bankai is straightforward. It gives a huge power up to the user. However, the complexity of this Bankai and its forms stems from the sources of its power. Let's put it in a more detailed way. Zangetsu, like most Zanpakuto, has 2 spirits in it. The first is a combination of his Hollow and Shinigami powers, the White Ichigo or Hollow Ichigo. The second, the Old Man Zangetsu, is a manifestation of Ichigo's Quincy roots. The author had always shown the Old Man as the real spirit of the Ichigo Zanpakuto, while the Hollow Ichigo is shown as his hollow and malevolent nature. But with a great plot twist, he revealed that the true spirit of his Zanpakuto is the White Ichigo, and the Old Man is just his Quincy part had interfered the whole time. Ichigo comes to know about this after meeting the Division Zero and receiving a reforged blade. He then obtains full control of his Zanpakuto spirit and his Quincy nature. This is the reason why his new Shikai becomes 2 different blades and why the final form of his Bankai is like his first Shikai. However, despite this Bankai presumably being extremely powerful, we are never shown its true ability. Moreover, Ichigo was able to gain the abilities of a Fullbringer when he lost his Shinigami power. Upon getting it back, his ability to Fullbring greatly increased the power of his Bankai. Shatatsu Karagara Shigarami no Tsuji. This is the Bankai of the 4th officer of the Zero Division and member of the Royal Guard Senjumaru Shitara. Her power allows her to manipulate the fates of her enemies with her clothwork, literally weaving and sealing them. Her weavings are uniquely patterned to embody different powers designed to counter the characteristics of her opponents. Senjumaru can adjust the number of weavings to match the amount of enemies she is facing. Her Bankai is so powerful that its release causes tremors that can be felt in multiple realms. Because of the risk her full power holds to the 3 world, her full power can only be used after sacrificing 3 other royal guards. Biraki Benihime Aratame. This is the Bankai of Urahara, the former captain of the 12th Division. His Bankai takes the form of a large woman wearing a revealing red dress with slender mannequin-like arms. It has the ability to reconstruct anything it touches. This can be used to slice open anything within its area of effect, heal wounds, or even make things function at peak performance. However, the range of this Bankai is limited and its effects are temporary, wearing off once the Bankai ends. Kamishini no Yari. This is the Bankai of Gin Ichimaru, who was formerly the captain of the 3rd Division before he betrayed the Soul Society with Aizen. His Bankai doesn't change the appearance or ability of his blade, but gives it a significant boost in power. His Bankai allows his sword to extend at blinding speed to lengths long enough to slice through entire portions of a town with each swing. But the true ability of Kamishini no Yari, as well as its deadliest aspect, is not based on its length or speed, but rather its ability to turn into dust for just a moment when it expands and contracts. The blade also holds a poison that Gin can leave in his targets to trigger when he deems fit. Suzumushi Suishiki Enma Kurogi. This Bankai belongs to Kaname Tosen, the former captain of the 9th Division and traitor along with Aizen and Gin. His Bankai creates a black dome that negates every sense, except the sense of touch and the ability to sense spiritual energy. The only ways to counteract this power are to either severely damage Tosen or to touch the hilt of his sword. Shirafure Ichimonji. This is the Bankai of Division 0 Captain Hyosubi Ichibei. The power of this Bankai is one of a kind, and is practically the opposite of its Shikai. While the power of the Shikai stains black and therefore erases the name of everything it hits, making them lose their meaning and therefore their power. Shirafure Ichimonji allows Ichibei to rename anything previously stained black and thus giving it new meaning and new power. For example, writing the kanji ant on someone who had their name erased off transforms him into a being with the power of an ant. Ichibei's second release is actually not called Bankai, but Shin Uchi, being his weapon, the first to have a second form, and long before the term Bakai was coined and probably by himself.